Welcome to John Martin Talks, where we battle ignorance and apathy daily. The growing ignorance of just how special this experiment we call the United States of America is, and the apathy that we can't or won't do anything and everything to save her. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's April 1st. Happy AOC Day, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez Day. Used to be known as April Fool's Day, but I can't think of a bigger fool than her, so I am officially renaming it AOC Day. So happy AOC. And you see a cartoon up there that is posted on my John Martin Talks Facebook page. It was really popular. I got to give credit to my dear friend Jake Fuller. He is actually the local artist that drew that cartoon. He is a political cartoonist, satirist. He's also a pretty accomplished artist in general. But I got to give old Jake credit for that. And perhaps we'll have him on the show someday. So I'm thinking about that this morning. Maybe I'll invite him on the show to talk about what it takes to be a successful cartoonist, and in this case, political cartoonist. So that may be revealed in the not too distant future. Well, let me tell you about something I did over the weekend, and I highly recommend that you do it if you haven't already. Go see the movie Unplanned. You may recall, if you've been listening to our show, and if not, you're new to the show, well, first, welcome. But if you've been watching our show for the last couple of months, you may recall that about a month ago, I had the pleasure, the honor to interview Abby Johnson, who the movie Unplanned is about. It's about a book she wrote. I think most of you probably know about it already, but it has to do with Planned Parenthood and abortion, and how she went from being the director of a clinic to basically changing her whole attitude and outlook upon life, really. And I went to a special premiere of it. There was over 500 people there locally, which is a lot, especially in this liberal community I live in. But apparently, Jay, my producer, told me that it has eclipsed Captain Marvel this weekend. So it's had a great opening week. People are always asking me how they can fight back against Hollywood and social media, stuff like that. Well, here is your chance. Go see this movie and take a friend. Bring people there. This will send a clear clarion message to Hollywood, because one thing that Hollywood does pay attention to, and that is the greenbacks, man. If you can make it rain on this movie, then it will be sending a message. Because keep in mind, this movie probably wouldn't have even been possible if it weren't for the unlikely success of God's Not Dead. I don't know if you remember that movie of a few years ago, but the people who brought you that kind of on a shoestring budget are the very people behind this. And I would encourage you to not only see the movie, but go back, even if you've seen the movie, and listen to our interview of Abby Johnson. I think you'll get you'll really enjoy it. And the best way to do that is to go directly to John Martin Talks Facebook. And oh, by the way, if you haven't done this already, please like it directly from John Martin Facebook and invite others. You can also go to johnmartintalks.tv, and our YouTube channel is John Martin Talks. And it is kind of under construction or reconstruction, but you can still see that. We're going to kind of relaunch that in the not too distant future. So anyway, happy AOC Day. Hope you don't get too many pranks pulled on you, but and go see that movie, because you will not be disappointed. All right, moving along here. The phrase of the day. Sometimes we have words of the day. Sometimes we have phrases of the day. Today, our phrase of the day is taking a punch. And by definition, I had chosen to endure with fortitude. And so a sub to that is fortitude, and that is courage in pain or adversity. So taking a punch with fortitude, in other words, facing pain and adversity and keeping on going. So my first story here comes to you from Reuters, and my little subtitle to it is Taking a Punch, Trump Counterpunches. Because President Trump, man, is one of the greatest political counterpunches I've ever seen, if not outright the greatest. From Reuters, Trump cuts aid to Central American countries as migrant crisis deepens. I can't even believe that they would even put the word crisis deepens, because there is no migrant crisis, right? We already know that. So Reuters, which is hardly a right-wing publication, is actually in their title saying migrant crisis deepens. So maybe we should actually build a wall or at least declare some state of emergency, but, there's nothing to see here. It's a manufactured crisis after all. Washington, El Paso, Texas, March 30th. The U.S. government cut aid to El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras on Saturday, or as Fox would call 3 Mexican countries, after President Donald Trump blasted the Central American countries for sending migrants to the United States and threatening to shutter the U.S.-Mexican border. Some would call that radical. You know what I would say? I'd say, like Billy Bob here said, if you hadn't paid attention to my psychic sidekick, this is Billy Bob Bass. He kind of keeps me on track. He has a Twitter handle, by the way. It's at Billy Bob Bass 1, and mine is at John Martin Talks. But as I say, some would call it radical, but we here at JMT would just say, it's about time. I mean, it's about time someone actually did something and just quit giving and we make it rain on all these countries. I mean, think about this, ladies and gentlemen. I wasn't going to talk about this, but it always irks me. I mean, think about, we made it rain. When I say we, the Obama administration made it rain on the Death to America crowd of Iran. I mean, Iran is the type that you say, good morning, mullet, and they go, death to America before they say anything else. And we gave them billions of dollars under Obama. So we make it rain on our enemies all the time. And I'm not necessarily saying that these 3 countries are our enemies, but they're certainly allowing an invasion to happen to us without a doubt. And yeah, I said it. It's an invasion. Get over it, snowflakes. A surge of asylum seekers from 3 countries have sought to enter the United States across the southern border in recent days. On Friday, Trump accused the nations of having set up migrant caravans and sent them north. Accused them? He's just telling them like it is. That's exactly what they're doing. Think about this, man. We've been taking, these are my words, we've been taking a punch so long, we're becoming punch drunk. We don't even know what a crisis is anymore. We literally have Americans that believe that hogwash, that there's no crisis here, nothing to see here, move along, it's all a manufactured crisis. It's unbelievable. But let me tell you, in Florida, man, we know from experience. Because keep in mind, we've been having people dumped on us that other countries didn't want for decades. And when I say dumped, I don't mean that I'm not bemoaning the people themselves. I don't blame people for wanting to get here. I don't blame people for doing about damn near anything to get here. If I were stuck in one of these S-hole countries, like the president said, he's absolutely right, I'd be trying to get here too. So I'm not begrudging the people for trying to get here, but it is also our duty to try to stop the illegal invasion that we're suffering. But back to Florida, I mean, think about it, man. Castro probably would not have survived. Of course, he's dead now, but his regime, talking about Fidel, his brother's still there, but they wouldn't have survived if they weren't continuously dumping people, that some of them good, some of them bad, but certainly ones they didn't want, because one thing they didn't want was anyone who was seeking freedom. They didn't want them either. So Castro dumped people in Florida on multiple occasions, and of course, we've had an onslaught from Haiti for years. And as I said before, and I just said a few minutes ago, I'm not begrudging the Haitian people for trying to get here. As a matter of fact, if I were living in Haiti, I'd be trying to get here too, right? And we've got a lot of fine Haitian. Matter of fact, a lot of them are actually supported Donald Trump. So I'm not opposed to immigrants by any stretch, but I am opposed to illegal immigration, period, because I think we have to be a nation of laws. Back to the article. Trump said there was a very good likelihood he would close the border this week if Mexico did not stop immigrants from reaching the United States. So he's talking about doing even more, not just cutting funding, but actually closing the border, which is a extremely big deal. Frequent crossers of the border, including workers and students worried about disruption to their lives, the president's threatened shutdown could cause. So, I've said this before, it's been a while, but if I say it, certainly it bears repeating. I would ask, where's the UN in all this? I mean, if we're going to have a United Nations, that is one of the things the United Nations is supposed to do is deal with refugee crises. And international law, and this is totally what's happening on our southern border, is a total violation of international law. People rarely ever talk about that aspect of it. But according to international law, the first place, if you're seeking true refugee asylum from a country, the first place you're supposed to seek it in is the first country you cross into. So they're supposed to, they being from Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador, they're supposed to be seeking refuge in Mexico or whatever country they first come into. It's certainly not the first country, United States of America. And really, if the UN was worth its salt, and I'm not saying they are, they'd be down on the southern border of Mexico preventing and dealing with this refugee crisis. That's how they handle it everywhere else on earth. Why don't they handle it that way here? It's because it doesn't fit the narrative, right? It doesn't fit the one world order. And keep this in mind, and these statistics are at least a year old. According to, you want to know how bad a threat this potentially is? According to the UN's own statistics, and I would say this is a conservative number, as many as 74 million people worldwide are displaced from their native country and looking for some type of asylum. Now, we reported a while back that over 100 million people from Central and South America said in a poll that they would like to come to America if they possibly could. So when you combine the 100 million there and the general 74 million people from around the world that you know their first choice would become to this S-hole country, right? Because according to the Democrats, we are basically an S-hole country. Yet people are lining up, risking their lives, sending their children here unescorted, trying to get here. So it's just crazy. So I ask again, where is the UN involved in all this? Why aren't they doing their job? It's because when it comes to the United States of America, they just want the check, baby. That's all they want. The UN is anti-American, I'm telling you right now. At a rally on the border in El Paso, Texas, Democratic presidential hopeful Beto, I call him Bobby because it's Robert Francis O'Rourke, denounced Trump's immigration policies as the politics of fear and division. Fear and division. Well, let me tell you, old Bobby Francis. You want me to call you Bobby or Francis? I don't mind. That's the Democratic strategy, brother. You just said the entire Democratic Party strategy. Divide, piss everybody. They divide everybody else with fear and division into these disparate groups, and then they unify them behind a common boogeyman. Of course, right now, the best one they got, and it's probably the best one they've ever had, is Donald J. Trump. But more about little Bobby O'Rourke in a little bit. We're gonna do a story about him in a little bit. A State Department spokesman said in a statement it was carrying out Trump's directive by ending aid programs to 3 Central American nations known as the Northern Triangle. So are they like the Triad, man? I don't know. But here, I got a thing for you here. It's talking about the spokesman said a statement to carry out Trump's directive by ending programs to 3 Central American nations. Here's something really radical. I got a radical idea. Why don't we just put America first? How about doing that? There you go, man. And I have to say I got that from Donald Trump. But what does President Trump, I think he basically has a general statement for this kind of stuff, doesn't he?
The Democrats have to now decide whether they will continue defrauding the public with ridiculous bullshit.
I'm with you, sir. I tell you, old DJT has been listening to JMT because I've been telling you all along what both parties really at the top have been wanting for years is to keep you, the American people, as mushrooms. Keep you in the dark and feed you as much bullshit as they possibly can. And you just got to write the check. That's all the hell they want. And that's what these triad, this country, that's what they want. That's what the UN wants. They just want us to write the big check, man. That's all they want. The department said it would engage Congress in the process, an apparent acknowledgement that it will need lawmakers' approval to end funding that a congressional aid estimated would total $700 million. So we could get $700 million, maybe put it towards a wall. But here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, the Democrats aren't going to go for this. The president knows that. They're not going to cut that. He's trying to put them on the spot. Excuse me, which brings me to another thing I want to cover really quick. Because I've been hearing Republicans on the talking head Republicans, some of them never Trumpers, some of them not, bemoaning that President Trump brought up getting rid of Obamacare. And they've been saying, oh, he shouldn't be doing that, right? That message, it's not going to happen anyway. And he shouldn't be bringing out that message right on the heels of the popularity that he's garnered from the Mueller report and all that. And on one hand, I understand where they're coming from. But it also shows just how stupid they are and how anybody can get paid, man. You know about getting paid. Somebody needs to pay me to go on some of these shows and talk about it because I get them straightened out. Let me just straighten you out on this, about this whole Obamacare. First of all, it's John McCain's fault. God rest the dead. But it's John McCain's fault and Republican Justice Roberts, Chief Justice Roberts' fault, period. That's a whole nother story. Let's talk about where we are right now. Obviously, the Democrats that are controlling Congress are never going to vote, including quite a few Republicans, unfortunately, are never going to vote to overturn Obamacare as long as they're in power. The president knows that. He knows that. He's no dummy. You may hate him, but he's no dummy, right? So what is he doing? He is putting them on the spot because Obamacare is failing and the Supreme Court is likely to very soon to crush it altogether. And what he is doing is making the Democrats own it outright. He's making, so be patient. There is a strategy. He's making them own it outright and showing how they would not work to reform it so it collapsed because of the Democrats. That's what he's doing. He's putting them on the spot. So all you talking heads that think you know all this and that, maybe you should watch JMT and get a little bit of knowledge because you're making a lot of money, but that don't make you smart. New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez, old Bobby Menendez, remember him, the suntan lotion guy? He was in Puerto Rico during the government shutdown. But New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez, the top Democrat on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, called Trump's order a reckless announcement and urged Democrats and Republicans alike to reject it. Well, let me do. I came up with an idea because everybody else and their brother is running for president, right? And we're going to talk about old Joe Biden here in just a minute as well. But I thought about this. Why don't we have? And it kind of rings a Southern tone. Why don't we have the Joe Bob ticket? We have old creepy Uncle Joe and old Bob Menendez ticket, otherwise known as the creepy freaky ticket. So we got old creepy Uncle Joe and old freaky Bob Menendez, man. But creepy and freaky, man, that's the ticket, man. We're going to get jiggy with that one. I mean, that's something else. Think about that. So we could have, I guess that would probably trump, pardon the pun there, the April Fool's pun, that would probably trump the Joe Biden, old Bernie Sanders ticket, which I said, their slogan could be, surely one of us will survive. Mario Garcia, so let's hear from some of these Caravan people what they have to say. And I'm sure it's very patriotic. Yeah, we want the American dream, USA, USA. I'm sure that's what it is, right? Well, you might be surprised. Mario Garcia, a 45-year-old bricklayer in El Salvador, said he was setting off for the United States regardless of the president's threat to close the frontier. And this is what he said. There is no work here, and we want to improve our lives to get ahead for our families, for our children. I don't give a damn. That's his words, not mine. What Trump says. So he don't give a damn about the president of the United States. He says, I'm determined. And that, sir, is exactly your problem. That is why we don't want you here. That's why we don't we don't need you here. It reminds me, and if you hadn't heard my story, more will be revealed, but I worked for 15 years at a drug treatment center. And I used to hear this same crap from people who were addicted to drugs and alcohol. They would come in and say, I don't give a damn what anybody thinks. And I'm going to do what I want to do. And I would tell them, and that is your problem. You don't give a damn what anybody thinks. And you call that progress. I used to tell my clients that all the time. You think that's progress. That's what got you here. Not caring what anybody else thinks and doing what you want to do. Being selfish and self-centered to the extreme. That is what got you here. That's not progress, I hate to tell you. And the same thing with this guy. He said he don't give a damn what President Trump said. Now, there's somebody who is we want for America that doesn't care. What if he said he didn't give a damn what Obama said? I would say the same thing, actually. Because if you're talking about coming into this country and you don't care what our president says, whoever it may be at the time, then I hate to tell you, we don't need you. Garcia was one of a group of at least 90 people who left the capital, San Salvador, over the weekend on buses heading north in what locals said was the 10th so-called caravan to depart the United States since October. Buses, okay? Buses. They're bussing. So you don't tell me they can't stop it. And you want to know where these buses are being paid for? They're being paid for by organizations in America. There's one, and I can't remember, we did a story on this a while back. I can't remember the exact name of it. But there's a group based out of Chicago that is paying for all this, escorting these people. Don't think that this is just an impromptu thing. This is a highly organized anti-American, and this particular group in Chicago is, they state that they are they're pro-open border, the anti-border all the way.
All you have to know is it's funded by George Soros.
That's true. It's funded, as Jay said, by George Soros and other billionaires. This is the bottom line, ladies and gentlemen. This is an orchestrated effort to take down America. That's what this is about. The government of El Salvador said it has tried to stem the flow of migrants. I'll ask you in El Salvador, how hard is it to stop a bus? I mean, these people are communist dictators down in El Salvador. How hard would it be for them to stop a bus if they wanted to? Now, I'm not advocating violence. I'm not saying they should, hurt these people in any way. But to think that a country like El Salvador, which routinely had people taken out in the middle of the night and murdered, can't stop a bus is ridiculous, man. Trump, who launched his presidential campaign in 2015, with a promise to build a border wall and crack down on illegal immigration, has repeatedly threatened, that's the key word here, threatened to close the frontier during his 2 years in office, but has not followed through. Meaning what? First of all, Trump doesn't threaten, man. Trump does not threaten. One thing President Trump doesn't do, he doesn't threaten. Now, that doesn't mean that everything he says that he might do, that he does. But to say that he doesn't threaten, if he's talking about closing down the border, he might not do it. But that doesn't mean it's a threat, because a threat is kind of something you don't necessarily mean to do. You're just bolstering. Trump will shut down the border if he thinks it's necessary to protect and defend the citizens of this great country. He will do it. Did he threaten to drop the mother of all bombs on those guys in Afghanistan? No. Did he threaten to move the embassy to our embassy to Jerusalem? No. Did he threaten to kill Russians? The guy that's supposed to be Putin's pocket puppet, Donald Trump, the traitor? Donald Trump, yeah, the worst traitor in the history of presidency. And don't tune out before you hear it. Come back. I say that because he sucks at it. I mean, this is a guy who has killed our enemies, has defeated ISIS, who killed Russians protecting this great nation in the Middle East. Yet he's a traitor, right? Yeah, Brennan, you are, man. Talk about April Foolish. Talk about somebody like Brennan. March is on track for 100,000 border apprehensions. The month of March, we're on track for 100K in border apprehensions. Homeland Security officials said which would be the highest monthly number in more than a decade. Most of those people can remain in the United States while their asylum claims are processed, which could take years of ballooning immigration and court backlogs. We're letting people just go right now. Now, I had a listener shoot me a message, and I strongly encourage you to do that. If you want to ask me a question, just pop it through Facebook. I'll answer it the best I can. I had a listener ask me, why don't we just turn these people around when they come there? And that sounds logical, and it makes perfect sense. The problem is they have learned to manipulate our laws, and they've been helped by progressive Democrats. That's just a fact. And they use the term asylum. It's very important that you understand that, because they're not just bum rushing the border saying, oh, I just want to get here. They're seeking asylum. And we have very specific laws governing how we treat people who are seeking asylum. President Trump has tried to change these laws, but so far Congress has resisted. So it's not President Trump's fault. It's Congress, both sides of the aisle, who, by the way, haven't done anything to try to help this situation in a long, long time. But so I hope that's clear. It's all about asylum, and we could expand upon that another time. But if you have a question, just ask me. I know about a side note, we haven't got it quite ready yet, but we're developing a tip line, if you will, for people who want certain things looked at, who have stories they want to pass. More about that will be revealed, but we're listening to you, and we're trying to get our audience more interactive.
It'll be on Facebook pretty soon. We're getting it up. We're listening to you all.
Yeah, so we're listening to you. We want to make this a viewer-friendly show. We want to interact with you. We got a lot of ideas in the hopper, so keep hanging in with us. You won't be disappointed. Go straight to our site, JMT, John Martin Talks, Facebook. Like it and share it with others if you haven't done so already. But Homeland Security Nielsen warned Congress on Thursday that the government faces a system-wide meltdown as it tries to care for more than 1,200 unaccompanied children and 6,600 migrant families in custody. Now, let me ask you this, ladies and gentlemen. What would you call someone who sends their unaccompanied children on this kind of journey? When you hear and this is not just made up in the sky, pie in the sky. Even the Democrats agree with this, although it's not a crisis, which I don't understand that. But you're at least 30% likely, and it's even higher if you're a woman coming across one of these Central American borders and coming through Mexico, United States. You're almost like 37% likely to be raped and sexually assaulted. I mean, give me a break, man. Well, how come women aren't up in arms? Progressive women, you feminists out there, how come you're not up in arms saying build the wall and stop this? So you would send your children knowing this, and even who I really hold responsible? The people that are orchestrating this, that know that it is a treacherous journey for these people. And even being on bus doesn't mean they're not going to get sexually assaulted. There's no evidence of that. So I say all the time, build a wall, better for all. Trump has so far been unable to convince Congress to tighten asylum laws, kind of what I was talking about earlier, or fund his border wall. He has declared, I never liked that term, his border wall. It's our border wall. Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, how many of the last four presidents, we had two Bushes, a Clinton mixed in there, and an Obama, the last four presidents. How many of those four actually built border wall? Got any idea? If you've listened to the show, you'll know. All of them have been building border wall, man. So this is not. So Trump's wall is. So what's down there now? Is it like Obama, Bush, Clinton wall? I mean, it's crazy, man. It's only Trump derangement syndrome that makes it his wall. Hey. Yeah, show that map. Check out this map, ladies and gentlemen. We've shown it before. Now, this is back when that big caravan, we started hearing about caravans that are kind of stalled, I think, still up in Tijuana. Look at how that blue line there is the route they took. Now, they were mostly walking. Some of them bust. Look at the red line. The red line is the route they could have taken. So you had your people go the longest possible route, and they did that for political reasons. They don't care. These people that are orchestrating these caravans, they don't give a damn about these people. All they care about is political power. And bringing down America. So I'm sure there's a ton of good people in that caravan of caravans. There's a lot of great people that have immigrated into this country. And I agree, we could welcome people in this country. But to tell me that you care about people and you're marching them like twice as long through the desert so how much more likely are they to get raped going that way? It's just crazy, man. But Trump so far has been unable to convince Congress to tighten up asylum laws. I said that. He has declared a national emergency to justify redirecting money earmarked for the military to pay for the wall. Justify? What do you got to, what more has to happen to justify? Here's what gets me. If you've been watching, and I watch some of these shows so you don't have to, watch CNN and MSNBC, even they are saying that what's happening at the border is a, quote, humanitarian crisis. They just don't want to give Trump anything to deal with it. Plus it fits the narrative they want. So you don't have to justify anything. What about all these diseases that are all of a sudden breaking out all over the country? What more do you have to, do their kids have to die before it's justified? I hope not. I'm not wishing that on anyone. Mexico has played down the possibility of a border shutdown. Its foreign minister, Marcelo Ebrard, I guess, said the country is good neighbors and does not act on the basis of threats. Threats! There you go again. They're using that word, threats. Let me just tell you, sir, Mr. Trump, Donald J. Trump, does not threaten. Donald J. Trump, promises made, promises kept. So if he tells you he's going to do something, it's like my dad used to say about my mom. God rest my dad. My mom's still alive at 90, be 98 in May. How about that, man? But my dad used to say, if your mom tells you at 3:30 that she's going to stick a pitchfork in your behind, at 3:15, you better start looking over your shoulder because it is coming. It is coming. And that's the same thing with Donald J. Trump, man. If he says he's going to do something, promises made, promises kept, threats made, threats kept, brother. You better be careful because don't underestimate our president. It was not clear how shutting down ports of entry would deter asylum seekers because they are legally able to request help as soon as they set foot on U.S. soil. Well, I got a radical idea. How about we build a wall and not let them set foot on the country? Hey, there you go. I mean, my goodness, man. Remember that video of Jim Acosta, where he's going, I'm down here at the border, and the border wall's up, and we don't see anybody trying to cross this border wall. There's no protest. I mean, it was like a gift wrap for the president, man. It is crazy. Yeah, because that's called walls work, dude. But a border shutdown would disrupt tourism and U.S.-Mexico trade that totaled $612 billion last year. And it probably would. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, a shutdown could lead to factory closures on both sides of the border. Industry officials say because the automobiles and medical sectors especially have woven international supply chains into the business model. Now, let me ask you this. How many punches should we take? I mean, Ocasio-Cortez, this is, of course, Happy Ocasio-Cortez, April Fool's Day, by the way, but she says over and over, she just did a recent town hall meeting. I mean, there's so many sound clips we could play for that. It's unbelievable. But basically what she continues to say is when it comes to like the Green New Deal and everything else, that she compares it to like World War II and, you know, we should mobilize the nation and face this kind of stuff, right? And you know, let's just take her at her word that we should mobilize the nation in time of crisis. I don't necessarily dispute that. I dispute what her reasoning is, but maybe we should mobilize our nation on this. I mean, there is going to have to be sacrifices made. There's no question about it. If we were to shut down the border, if President Trump determines it has to be done, there are going to be hardships on American citizens. There is no doubt about that. But we have, using Ocasio-Cortez's example, we have made sacrifices for the greater good of the nation and in most cases the world many, many times before. Are you telling me we're not capable of that now? So even if these statistics are true, I guarantee you Mexico's going to come out on the short end of the stick on this. But I mean, if we think about this, and some people may disagree with this, if we continue to allow, just think about those numbers I gave you earlier, 74 million refugees around the world displaced, you know, over 100 million said that in Central and South America that if they given the chance, they'll come to America. If even half that number actually tries to get here, Democrats would say it's a better nation for it. Well, I don't know. I have my doubts, but one thing we know for sure, if we all of a sudden have 50 to 100 million illegal immigrants pour across our border, we will not be the United States of America. We may be better, but we won't be the United States of America. You know, I mean, that's just the way it is. All right, so we're going to move on. Next story here, I promised you I'd talk a little bit about old ORourke, man, old Bobby O'Rourke, Bobby Francis. And my title on this one, man, this is coming to you from an AP story, Punch Drunk White Dude. Because this dude right here, man, is punch drunk. He don't know, like my old uncle used to say, he don't know if his fanny, now he used a different word, is punched or bored. This guy don't know it from a hole in the ground. I'm telling you right now. ORourke champions U.S.-Mexico border during Texas kickoff. Now, I can't make this stuff up. Even if you're an O'Rourke fan, can you really believe this nonsense? Democratic presidential candidate Beto O'Rourke declared that immigrants make the country safer as he staged rallies across Texas to formally kick off his 2020 White House bid. Now, this would be a good April Fool's joke if it weren't for the lives lost. If it weren't for people like my good friend Sabina Durden, who lost her son to a 3-time DUI illegal immigrant who killed her son, tragically. We had a great interview with her. It was one of the more somber interviews I've ever had. Go back and check out our podcast on that. John Martin Talks Facebook page, johnmartintalks.tv, or our YouTube channel. And also Excluded has those interviews. We have an Excluded YouTube channel as well. Drop the E, put the big X up there, Excluded YouTube. You can see it all on there. But man, I can't make a joke about the loss of loved ones for that. So it would make an April Fool's joke if it weren't so true. The former congressman who represented El Paso for 3 House terms until last year began the day Saturday addressing, get this now, whoa, man, you talk about, man, this guy, oh my goodness. Beto O'Rourke, now you ain't going to believe, hold on. This is no April Fool's joke. Let me read this sentence very carefully. The former congressman who represented El Paso for 3 House terms last year began the day Saturday addressing 1,000+ supporters in his hometown. 1,000+ supporters. There were more people directing traffic to the Trump rally than were at Beto O'Rourke's thing, man. I mean, think about 1,000 people. Oh my God, he had 1,000 people in his hometown. And there were actually Trump people there protesting. I wonder if they counted them. O'Rourke declared, "We are." Now this is where this is a joke, as I say. If it weren't so true to the lives people have lost lives. O'Rourke declared, "I can't believe we are safe, not despite the fact that we are a city of immigrants and asylum seekers. We are safe because we are a city of immigrants and asylum seekers." But he fails to mention illegal immigrants. They talk about immigrants. Yeah, but there's a difference, sir. There's a difference. And he says, "We have learned not to fear our differences, but to respect and embrace them," like creepy Uncle Joe, man. Expect and embrace. So, look, I've said this before, but as I say, if I say it, it bears repeating. We do need diversity in this country. Diversity has made this country great, but not in the way Beto O'Rourke and the Democratic Party. They want diversity to balkanize our country, to basically put people in separate groups, disparaging groups, piss them all off, as I say, in common boogeyman so they can keep in power. Where diversity made this country great is in our very fabric of our slogan, E pluribus unum, out of the many, one. So yeah, we're supposed to take this diversity, the melting pot. One thing you never hear the Democrats ever say is the word melting pot anymore, right? We're supposed to take a group of diverse people in a melting pot, and they come out believing in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. They believe in the fundamentals of the U.S. Constitution. They believe in their God-given inalienable rights. That's what people like Beto O'Rourke are missing. Yeah, we are a nation of immigrants, but we're a nation of immigrants that believe in the principles of the Constitution. At least we used to be. O'Rourke has made promoting the border as culturally rich and economically powerful the centerpiece of his campaign. So he's promoting open borders. That's one thing I've been saying all along. These progressives, you don't have to wonder where they're coming from. Just lean in just a little bit. You don't have to lean in. You can just listen. I mean, Trump used to have to lean in, but since President Trump, they're just shouting it from the rooftops, right? Beto O'Rourke is for open borders. He's telling you, open borders, it's going to make our country great. You talk about it's going to keep us great, I guess. But hey, he can go with open borders. I'm going to go with America first, baby.
The Democrats have to now decide whether they will continue defrauding the public with ridiculous bullshit.
There you go, man. Here's some more ridiculous bullshit. O'Rourke entered the race March 14th and already has visited 9 states, but had promised to return to El Paso for an official kickoff. Well, Beto, let me just help you out here, man. Because we're going to use Obama. You know, we're going to President Saint Obama, right? So you've been to 9 states, right? Well, according to Obama, you only got 48 more to go. He said there was 57, right? And let me just ask you this, Beto. I am really glad that you were able to make it back to El Paso alive. Because if you signed off on the Green New Deal, right? And you certainly didn't go there by a slow train or fast plane, did you? You had, I mean, think of Burrow, man. Aren't you one of the top jackasses for jackasses? So, you know, it's hard to go across Texas, 9 states, let alone all 57 of them on a jackass. I'm just glad you made it, because I didn't think you would. I thought you might be dead by now. We're not quite dead. Yeah, we're not quite dead yet. He's still alive. O'Rourke represented...
You shall not have died in vain.
I'm not quite dead, sir.
That's what he probably said when he was laying there, you know. And O'Rourke represented the city, talking about El Paso, in Congress for 6 years, but gave up his seat while nearly upsetting Texas Republican Ted Cruz. Nearly upset. The man lost. And I've showed you these numbers before. That race was more to do about Cruz. As much as I respect Ted Cruz, a lot of people don't like him because he was kind of a never-Trumper at the start. But all you got to do is do a little homework. You can Google this, but remember, Google is of the devil. Go back and look at the Texas race then. There was a Republican governor running for re-election. He swamped the Democrat. I mean, he got a ton of votes. The vote tallies, the percentage was not the same for Cruz. That tells me a lot of people turned up to vote Republican and didn't vote for Cruz. That's what that tells me. But O'Rourke represented the city in Congress for nearly 6 years with Ted Cruz. The Democrat who replaced him, this is the key point I want to make, House Representative Veronica Escobar. I wonder if she's getting akin to Pablo. But anyway, Veronica Escobar welcomed those on hand to the beautiful, magical, safe, and secure U.S.-Mexican border. Does anyone really... Let me read that again, man. I got to make sure I got this right. Welcome to the beautiful, magical, safe, and secure U.S. border. Is there anyone who actually believes that? I'm wondering if she's going to like take her family on a picnic and camp out on the edge of the border. I mean, give me a break. She says, when the border sends her people, we're sending them our best in Beto, O'Rourke. When the border sends... Let's talk about punch drunk. This lady sounds like she might be a bit punch drunk. Let me read that again because I'm confused. When the border sends America her people, we're sending them our best in Beto, O'Rourke. I mean, what exactly does that mean? I don't know. Maybe you could say she's so freaking proud of them. I don't know. What the hell does that exactly mean? Anyway, these people are punch drunk, man. Beto, man, good luck on your 57-state tour by jackass. I hope you survive it. But, man, hey, let me tell you, that April Fool's joke has already been played on Beto. Beto, let me just tell you, man. You're a white dude, okay? You ain't got a shot to win the Democratic. I mean, it's... I just, you know, they've been playing one hell of a joke on you because your name is Robert Francis.
Generations of people, older people, who were born and bred and marinated in it, in that prejudice and racism, and they just have to die.
And I don't know, here's another question for Beto. Is your mama still alive? Because if she is, you're in danger. Because keep in mind that the Democrats say that you can abort a baby after it's living, breathing in the world. So where does that stop? Because I've said that according to the Democratic philosophy, and this I'm saying this to me because I just told you my mom will be 98 in May. Nobody's safe as long as their mama's alive, according to the Democrats, because they could just make a decision. Talk it up, make a decision. Sorry, we're tired of you, old boy. So I don't know if your mama's alive. You better be careful. All right, we're going to move on. Let me check my time. Okay, we're doing pretty good. We got a couple of little stories. I hope to get to all of them. But this first one's been in the news all weekend, man. And it's coming to you from the New York Post. And my title is this: Creepy Uncle Joe is taking it on the chin, man. He's taking a punch, man. But who's punching him right now? It ain't the Republicans. It's his fellow Democrats, man. They are the 2020 Democrats, man. They go, pop, 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 pop. Oh, take that with you. I mean, they are just beating this dude down. Biden's Democratic rivals are leaving him out to dry over inappropriate touch. Former Vice President Joe Biden got a little help from his likely opponent. Got little, not a little, but I'm sorry, Little help. In other words, they beat the dude down. From his likely opponents in 2020 Democratic presidential race as questions mounted over his behavior with a female former Nevada lawmaker on the campaign trail. Now, let me just tell you, Captain Whitebread is usually sympathetic to this type of stuff because, us old white dudes got to stick together some because we're being beat down, man. You talk about being punch drunk, man. Pop, 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 pop. We're getting hit everywhere. I mean, the whole world, anything bad in the world, if you got gray hair and white like that, I mean, people are feeling so sorry for me that when I go to restaurants now, they don't even ask me my age. They just give me the discount. They just assume, hey, you're old white, you need a discount, man. I don't know what they're doing in the kitchen in the back. I don't even want to think about it. But they give me the discount on the front, even though I'm not actually officially eligible for any of them. But Captain White, man, I'm usually sympathetic, but I can't defend creepy Uncle Joe, man. You're on your own, brother. I cannot defend you, man, because this is no big news, is that Uncle Joe is. That's why they call him creepy Uncle Joe. Yeah, play that video real quick. We got a video. Let me know when you're ready for it. Here we go. There's a video. I posted this on my page. Check out this video. There you go. There you go. Boy. Yeah. He's massaging. Maybe he's just a wannabe masseuse, man. I mean, maybe we're reading old creepy Uncle Joe wrong. Maybe he's just trying to give him adjustments. Maybe Uncle Joe was a chiropractor back in the day, a wannabe, and he's just trying to straighten these young ladies out. I don't know. It's crazy, man. I think you get the point. We'll move on. The politician is Lucy Flores. Now, I've seen her. I actually read her op-ed piece. Alleged that Biden, then President Obama's number 2, inappropriately touched her at an event during her failed 2014 bid for statewide office. She's running for lieutenant governor. My only question to her, because I read the article, and I believe what she describes in the article sounds very true to me because we've all seen Joe basically doing this. I mean, for God's sakes, he did it to Hillary Clinton. He'd sure do it to this gal, wouldn't he? I mean, that guy, you talk about needing rescue, man. He did it. That guy was desperate to do it with Hillary Clinton anyway. I wonder if Bill got pissed. He probably said, no, man, you keep her over there while I'm over here. But my biggest problem with all this kind of crap, especially, now we're not talking about a teenage girl here. We're talking about someone that's already been in public office, is running. Why don't they say something at the time? Why don't they? Well, I can tell you why. Because she was using old creepy Uncle Joe, and she was hoping it would help her. So that's why she didn't say anything, and there's part of me that can understand that. But why now? Why after all these couple, like, what has it been, like 4 years? 5 years? Why now? I got a suspicion that when all push comes to shove, now this is not in defense of creepy Uncle Joe, because I ain't defending him, trust me. But I'll be willing to bet you that she is, if not already, and I hadn't really reached, she may have already done, I bet she endorsed somebody or will endorse somebody like Kamala Harris. Be my guess. I doubt Elizabeth Warren, but probably Kamala Harris. And that's why, because she's doing the bidding of this. Because I'm sure this story, apparently, this has been known for quite some time that he did this. And it's just now coming out. It's not coming out from Republicans, I assure you. It's from progressive leftist Democrats, man, who know no shame. They will eat each other alive. I'm looking forward to it. That's a decision. Here, Bernie Sanders. So great Bernie, you'd think he would be with Joe, man. He's one creepy old white dude to another, one slice of white bread to another. Maybe he's marble rye. I don't know. He's supposedly Jewish, but he doesn't act that way. But Bernie says that's talking about whether or not Biden should or shouldn't run. He said that's a decision for the vice president to make, he said on CBS Face the Nation. When asked if the allegation disqualifies Biden, he said, I'm not sure that one incident alone disqualifies anybody. And I'm with you, Bernie. Because, if getting half naked, drunk, and dancing in the streets of Moscow, Comrade Bernie, doesn't disqualify you, then maybe something old Joe did. Because keep in mind, that is what old Bernie did, man. He's celebrating in Moscow. What does he say? I guess his Moscow project was slightly different than Trump's. One of the leading women he probably did get some pee and hose on him, man. One of the leading women in the Democratic race, Senator Elizabeth Warren, came down on the other side. First, is she really a leading figure? The polls I saw her, she's not polling very far above against anyone else. on the list. But she said, I read the op-ed last night. So you can imagine she was drinking a beer or trying to, reading the op-ed. She said, I believe Lucy Flores and Joe Biden needs to give an answer. So my first question is, did he kiss you? Did he massage you? I don't know if he has or not.
Was he getting on some Native American there?
Yeah, I mean, he might have been. That Flores looked, maybe he should be attracted. Why don't you just, y'all are supposed to be so kind-hearted and all. Why don't you just offer him a peace pipe? I mean, just offer him a little peace pipe, man. Why you got to get on Joe, man? But John Hickenlooper, who? John Hickenlooper. Can you imagine that there's ever going to be a president named Hickenlooper? I mean, I just don't. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe, is that name shaming or something like that when I say Hickenlooper? That sounds like Chicken Cooper. I mean, I don't. And we know about the chickens, right? But he said the former governor of Colorado recently jumped in the race, called Biden's actions very disconcerting. He said, certainly, I think it's very disconcerting. And I think that women have to be heard, and we should start by believing them, Hickenlooper said on NBC's Meet the Press. So let me just ask you, and I would say this to all the white, Beto, all you, especially all you white dudes, okay? Because Hickenlooper, I don't think there's too many black dudes named Hickenlooper. I'm just going out on a limb here. This is a white dude, okay? So Hickenlooper, you saying all these women should be believed, you want to do all what's right and everything else. First of all, why are you even talking? I mean, Mazie Hirano told you right off the bat, yeah, women need to be believed and all men need to do what? Shut up! So why are you even talking? And secondly, if you care about all this stuff, why are you even running, man? I mean, that's the first question I'd have to, because think about Biden, man. Biden just is going on an apology tour. We played a video last week. Go back and check out at johnmartintalks.tv or my YouTube channel, John Martin Talks. Biden basically said, I'm a white guy, and man, I can't be more sorry than I am about that. I'm sorry that I am a white dude. I mean, he'd get in trouble if he put on blackface, but he literally went about as far as you can without rubbing blackface on. I'm just so sorry I'm a white guy. I don't know what to do about it. My mama made me this. My dad screwed this into me. I don't know what to do. You know, I mean, how in the world do you run? How do you run for president if you're a white dude in the Democratic Party? Don't you have to sit down, shut up, and get out the way? I don't know. But Minnesota U.S. Senator Amy Kohlenbacher echoed Warren in an appearance on ABC. Now, remember this Amy Kohlenbacher chick, man. What did you need to know about? First of all, she supposedly, you know, if you're around her and you're on her staff, duck because she throws staplers. But she announced her presidency and talked about climate change in the middle of a blizzard. And she literally is like, you can't even hardly see her for the snow coming down, but that's another story. This week on Sunday, she said, no reason not to believe Lucy Flores. I think we know from campaigns and politics that people raise issues and they have to address them, and that's what we will have to do with the voters if he gets in the race. In other words, hey, creepy old white dude, we're going to unify against you, Joe. They're after you, man. So, you know, here's a suggestion for the Democratic Party. I'm always trying to help. Let me take a quick sip of this. I'm sincerely trying to help because they're worried. I mean, Beto's worried about the diversity and Joe's worried about being seen as creepy Uncle Joe. And, you know, you list all these things. Here's the best way to do it. Why don't you just all put the hoods back on? So we can't tell what color you are, what sex you are. Put the hoods on. Because remember, the Democratic Party brought you to KKK. So maybe they should first debate, they should all just be hooded. They should all ride the jackasses in, wearing the hoods so we can't tell who they are. Kind of like there's a new show out. I haven't watched it where you got famous people wearing costumes and singing. Maybe they should just all line up, get back to their roots, wear the hoods, and let somebody... So, there it is. That's Joe. I thought that was Joe, man. I could tell by the way he hugged that other hooded one. You know. Anyway. Okay. So, Biden, who is still weighing in the 2020 race, denied any wrongdoing in a statement issued. He said, neither then nor in the years since did he or the staff with him at any time have an inkling that Miss Flores had been at any time uncomfortable, nor did they recall what she describes. It was, in other words, it's just Joe being Joe. He talks about, he said, I'm kind of a touchy-feely. Yeah, I know you are, just Joe being Joe. And we played it already, but if you want to see it again, go back to my John Martin Talks Facebook page, and we can see that old Joe being Joe has been going on for a while, man. All right, we got a few minutes left. I got one last story here that just, it does my heart good. There are a few people of courage left, and this is coming to you from CNN. Imagine that. And I call it the courage to throw a punch. This Colorado sheriff is willing to go to jail rather than enforce a proposed gun law. Weld County Sheriff Steve Reams disagrees so much with a gun bill making its way through the Colorado legislature that he's willing to go to jail rather than enforce it. He said it's a matter of doing what's right. This country, ladies and gentlemen, was founded on the courage that this gentleman has. He is at least showing it. So he's not the only one that feels this strong. The controversial red flag bill aims to seize guns temporarily from people who are deemed to be a threat to themselves and others. Now that sounds good, but it's who determines that, right? And we're going to get more into that. So the government determines this. So government or people, friends, family, basically they can say, hey, I think Johnny over here is a danger to himself and to others, and they can just take his gun. Doesn't matter if he's committed a crime or anything, just take his gun. Well, I can tell you people get vindictive all the time. And this is a separate issue, but I wanted to bring this to your attention. Perhaps we'll cover it later. Have you seen what Mark Zuckerberg, the In God We Trust head of Facebook, just came out with, the Masters of the Universe? He's asking for government to come in and help regulate the internet for hate speech. That's what Mark Zuckerberg has admitted, basically. He's basically saying we can't handle it, and it's response to the criticism of them airing the video of the New Zealand shooter. But he's literally come out and said the problem's too big for any one entity, and he's calling on some type of government to do this. So can you imagine that, if that actually happens? I mean, that government is going to regulate hate speech? Well, I can tell you the first thing they regulate is any criticism of government, right? So you talk about something that is like totally anti-American and totally anti-free speech and freedom everywhere. Anybody in the world, no matter where you are, if you are about freedom, if you want freedom, like freedom, or looking to get here, if you're in that caravan headed here, you need to stand up against this, because I'm telling you, if we have a one world government that basically controls free speech, which is what Zuckerberg is calling for, we got a problem. But that's the same thing that's happening right here in Colorado, basically. With Democratic majorities in both chambers, state Republicans have few votes to stand in the way. They all voted against it, by the way. But more than half of Colorado's 64 counties officially opposed the bill. Many have even declared themselves, check this out, Second Amendment sanctuary counties. So they're going to be a sanctuary county. Now there is a true safe zone. Where someone is saying, look, we're not going to take people's guns. Those counties, over half, I think like 32 counties that are basically declared themselves as sanctuary counties for the Second Amendment. Those are counties you're going to feel safe in. Check my time. We're about out of time. Maybe read this one little minute. Failure to enforce a court order to seize a person's gun could mean sheriffs being found in contempt. A judge could fine them indefinitely or even send them to jail to force them to comply. Do you remember, ladies and gentlemen, when the left, like Obama and Hillary Clinton, they both said this essentially, that no one's coming for your guns. No one's coming for your guns. Obama said you're clinging to your guns and your Bibles, like them voters in Pennsylvania that helped put Trump in there. But Reams said it's a sacrifice, talking about going to jail, that he'd be willing to make. Well, thank you, sir. Let me read this part and then we'll close. Colorado's Extreme Risk Protection Order bill would allow a family member, a roommate, or a law enforcement to petition a judge to take someone's firearms if they are deemed to be a danger to themselves or others. Now, let me ask you this. If you're a person that believes and practices the Second Amendment, do you want a family member to determine whether you can stay armed or not? Do you want a roommate to determine that? We already had that situation. Or law enforcement, which is pretty vague. It doesn't necessarily mean a police officer. Law enforcement could be a lot of things. And you want them to determine that? I mean, this, ladies and gentlemen, is beyond a slippery slope. They may mean well, But they're inalienable rights for a reason, man. And let me just, I said I will close on this. The gun ban lobbies are getting more and more extreme and aggressive, one of these spokesmen said. Think about this, Emergency Powers Act. You know, I've said before to you that the progressives will tell you what they want. One of their criticisms of Trump's Emergency Act, as they say, and never Trumpers and some Republicans in general have said it, oh, it could be used by a Democratic president to take your guns. Well, first of all, it's a totally different, it's apples and oranges comparison. But the important thing is the Democrats are telling you what they would do if they became president again. If any of these 2020 Yahoo jackasses on jackasses actually becomes president, they will use the Emergency Powers Act to take your guns, regardless of what happens with President Trump. We just need to wake the heck up. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the show today. Be careful out there that you don't get an Ocasio-Cortez joke played on you. Otherwise, April Fools. Remember, go see that movie Unplanned. You will not regret it. Thank you for watching the show. Please go directly to John Martin Talks. Like it if you hadn't already, and share it with others. Those of you who have done it, thank you very much. But above all else, ladies and gentlemen, have a blessed day.